All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
Oh, baby, we're back. And shout out to Nate D, Sean, Go Collect, Brock, I Am Rice, Jordan, Game Tom, Little Neck, Adam, AXT, Christian, I Am Rice again. Hey, you get to smash the like. That is all we ask for. Hope everybody is very excited. Langley in here. We are officially back talking some hoops. 2-game slate. Obviously, it's always 2 games to start the year. I prefer a little more, but $200K to first on DK, $100K to first on FanDuel when they have guaranteed overlay and paying out 50%. Prizes are massive. We got 2 good games on, even if they're the worst teams in the league. NBA is back on our screens, Rio. Exciting times over here. How we doing?
Yeah, very excited. It's like Christmas Day over here. Like Jordan said, we've been waiting for this for a long time, all year, but the last 4 months in particular. Yeah, really excited. A lot of cool additions to the team over the last couple of weeks with M. Bellman joining us. Matthew Bellman, I'm sure a lot of you guys know him as one of the better DFS players out there, joining us for full-time NBA content this season. And then our guy Little Neck going to be taking over the Showdown stuff. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend right there. Going to be taking over Showdown for us Monday through Friday, which I know a lot of members are excited about. He's got his own little Showdown process that a lot of people have had success with and have asked for. So really excited to get him up to speed with the team. But yeah, really excited for this upcoming NBA season. I want to find the clip from last year doing the show with BJ on the opening night because I did call the dark horse Peyton Pritchard 6th man of the year. I don't know if I really have anything to follow that up with, but that one felt pretty good to get that one out of the way.
Oh, yeah. Rio, one of the sharpest guys out there. Many of you know, but he absolutely puts in the work. You will see his slate plan up, NBA slate plan, Monday through Friday. A little behind right now. It'll be up very shortly after the show, but goes in depth about a lot of stuff in multiple tiers. You can also see the GPP core report. You get Rio on there. You get Matt on there. His core is up already as well, so check it out. And don't forget our man, Ham the Man on FanDuel. You get that as well. Cash core for myself. Again, slate plan like we talked about. We do have, if you go more education video, NBA, Tambo Hoop and myself did an NBA, I think it was 2 hours, roughly that, broke down GPPs, cash, what you need in NBA, which what do you need? You need a news source. Underdog on Twitter is the best source there. You need to be around your computer almost every single lock time too. Obviously not this first day as much. We know the news, but as the NBA goes on, a million of these guys are questionable, and a lot of the questionable pieces impact a lot of other players, impact the slate. Late swap is very big. Again, in the Discord, there's no better spot, no more important sport to be in the Discord than NBA with just so many moving pieces. Actually, I'll put college football up there too. Shout out to Bill, to Smarty, to Hammock. College football is a grind. I don't even know what's worse. It might be college football since you don't have one specific news place. You know, Underdog will give you everything in NBA. College football, you got to be scraping every single Twitter account there. So that's for another story or another time. Ross K, what's going on? Kid Linen, Michael Peterson in here, Michael W, Zim, AZ, Bob, Jordan. I hope I covered everyone. Again, all we ask, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. And we do have you can see right about 5 days for $19 using the code SHIP19. I mean, $19, 5 days. You can't get much for $19 nowadays. $200K to first on DraftKings, $100K to first on FanDuel in the flagships with plenty other great contests. You can parlay $19 into a lot more, or at least have a chance, get a little edge over at ShipItNation.com. We would love to have you if you want to give us a try. Rio, I'm going to throw it to you just broad slate or just NFL. What am I talking about? I'm in the NFL mode. NBA, if this is someone's first time playing NBA DFS, how does it differ from NFL, from MLB, from other sports? Just answer that question right away.
Yeah, I would say projections reign supreme in NBA for sure. Minutes matter a lot, so you need to have a good and accurate projection and minute source, which I would say that we do. But if you don't use us, you definitely should use something. I know there's some people that can just kind of play off of knowing ball, but NBA is one of the more projectable sports that you can get accurate projections to. So it's very important to have that to kick things off. Correlation, not nearly as important in NBA. I would say on smaller slates, like a 2-game slate, you definitely can correlate more, play into one game being a blowout, the other one being close. But for most main slate stuff, it's kind of just playing the best plays at each position. And then value is very important in NBA. You got to find those low price guys that make those stud lineups work. But I would say the main thing is that just projections are going to be very, very important for NBA.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't echo that enough. Why is that the case? Well, it's a lot easier to project something in basketball when the shot clock's 24 seconds, when you're going up and down the court, how often these guys usually touch the ball. Baseball, yeah, you get 4 at-bats. It's really hard sport. You succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. Very volatile in projections that way. Football, it's more accurate than baseball, but definitely less than NBA in the sense of the other team could have a 9-minute drive and you're sitting on the sideline more. Touchdowns mean a lot more in sports like NFL, so more variance in that. Basketball, it's an up and down game. Very easy to project the minutes, very easy to project usage. This guy's off. What does that do to this, etc.? So projections mean a ton in a lot of sports, but NBA for sure. Yep. And that I think just goes along with projections being a lot more accurate and knowing that because, yeah, I mean, you look at projection, that leads to ownership in all sports, but it's a lot more variance in the projection in the other sports than basketball. Like talking about 2-game slate. So this is not a main slate by any means in the sense of you don't really need to care as much about like ownership and stuff. 2-game slate, you need to care a little more. But I will say right away, don't think it's NFL Showdown or stuff where you just let's set my max salary at 49.5 and try and get a lot different that way. I don't think like using your salary in NBA in almost every slate is definitely the sharp thing to do. Salary is usually pretty good. DraftKings does a good job. The higher price guys usually project for better, and giving up a bunch of projection points just to get different and leaving 500 isn't usually the way I play NBA. Any thoughts on that for a normal slate? But then any like different things you do for a 2-game slate where it is a little more of a dupe sport at least than a normal NBA main slate?
I would say upping the correlation, whether that be through SaberSim or just kind of hand building, is something I would kind of focus on a little bit more on 2-game slates. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the first question, was that you could definitely play games as being closer and other one being a blowout. I think tonight is, I would say, a little bit closer to both games being, or I would say there's a better chance of both games being fairly close here. So maybe something different, like getting lower on the studs and playing more in the mid tier, and the main rotation guys getting more minutes and doing more of the heavy lifting would be something to consider. But yeah, for the most part on 2-game slates, I try to pinpoint spots that I can kind of exploit ownership in terms of a team having the chance to blow out. And anytime OKC is on a slate like this, there's always a good chance. But I would say that tonight is a little bit different because I think the Rockets are a little bit undervalued in the betting market.
All right. I like to hear that right away. We will segue into this first game again. We go game by game on this show. As always, we have 2 games instead of the usual 9, 8, 10, whatever. So probably a shorter show than usual. But again, all content will be up. Rio slate plan, cash report, which I already have up. Matt has his core up. Rio and Ham will get him as well. And shout out again, Little Neck does a phenomenal job. Very happy to have him on the team. You will see his showdown core report or showdown slate plan for the Monday through Friday featured game. So that will be up tonight for Lakers Warriors. Good prizes there. Shout out to our man Little Neck, of course, projections, ownership. If it DraftKings FanDuel right here as well. All right, let's take it to the first game, Rio. The Rockets and the Thunder. You already mentioned right away you think Rockets being disrespected a little in the market. They are 6.5-point underdogs. We have a 227.5 total. There is injuries, though. Not really Q-tags. There isn't Q-tags to worry about, but no Fred VanVleet, no Dorian Finney-Smith on the Houston side, and no J-Dub, no Jalen Williams, no Isaiah Joe on OKC. I want to throw it to you just right away. Do you think it's going to be Cason Wallace, or do you think it's going to be Aaron Wiggins starting? Are you confident in that? Obviously, we will get that news before, but that's my first question. And then, yeah, take it from there. Again, we are sharing the Stone. If I zoom out, I don't know if it's too hard for people to see. You can let me know. Would you guys rather this, or would you rather me zoom in one and cut off FanDuel a bit. So when they're letting me know that, you take it over. But who do you think starts, Kaysen or Aaron?
I would probably guess that people are going to say just cut out FanDuel. They're like the little brother in the DFS industry. So DK.
It's good today, though. It's good today.
True.
I'm definitely maxing. I mean, 50 guaranteed overlay payout 50%. It is 9-14, but if there was a day to play over there, I think today's a good one.
I might jump on there as well. I think I got my account unlocked finally.
No, I shouldn't have said that. Should have saved more money for me.
I don't know anything about the NBA. I haven't done FanDuel NBA, and I don't even remember one. Probably since like 5 years ago, and I did like a random All-Star game, I think is what it was.
No, I stick out one more day.
Sorry, can you repeat the question though?
Kaysen Wallace or Aaron Wiggins? Okay. Who's starting for Jalen Williams?
I mean, I honestly kind of think it could be Caruso. They had been running Caruso as the starter in the preseason, so I kind of think it could be him. But if it's not him, I would say it's probably Kaysen, and then Wiggins going to fill in the 6th, 7th man role. But I think that those are the three clear benefactors and guys that are going to be starting or have the potential to start tonight for OKC is what I'm guessing. Yeah, I guess we'll get right into the game. You already mentioned the injuries for both sides. Obviously, no Fred VanVleet this season. I think at some point we'll see Reed Sheppard in the starting lineup and probably having some massive games. I think it's going to be more matchup dependent, though, and the Houston Rockets are going to be running out that massive starting lineup. I think that their shortest player is Amen Thompson at 6'7", which is just insane. And I think they got 3 guys that are above 7 feet. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. I think from a matchup perspective, it could be I could see them getting beat here and kind of switching things up pretty quickly just because OKC plays so fast. And this game does have a chance to play a little bit more up in pace than the second game tonight. OKC was fifth in pace, and Houston was 18th. I think they're going to get a little bit faster, though, with Amen in the starting lineup pretty much from start to finish this season. Yeah, OKC was one of the top transition defenses in the league, and Houston was pretty good. But I think that adding, 4 tall guys like KD, Sengun, Steven Adams, and even Jabari Smith might hurt them a little bit defensively, getting back in transition. So I could see them switch things up a little bit. Who that would benefit, I would say probably Tari Eason and Reed Sheppard the most, but I would say Tari Eason would be the clearest guy that they'd want to go to if the triple big lineup doesn't work that well. But defensively, OKC should have the upper hand here. They're first in transition, first in rim defense last season. Schematically, the OKC Thunder always are kind of a team that will play a lot of help off defense, which leads to a little bit more volume for off-ball shooters. So guys like Kevin Durant should be in the best spot here. He was a little bit, lower usage in the preseason, kind of just corner standing a little bit, letting other guys get involved. But I think that he should be in a decent spot here regardless. But for Houston, they're going to be at a pretty big disadvantage with their on-ball defense, I would say. Losing Dillon Brooks, say what you will about him. I obviously don't love Dillon Brooks, but he is a good defender. He is a disruptor on defense and just kind of does a lot of intangibles that are going to be lost here. Amen Thompson, I love him as a talent, but I don't know if he's really that much better of an on-ball defender than Dillon Brooks. And Houston was one of the worst pick-and-roll defenses in the league last year, and Shea is going to be able to put up points there in a pretty big way, I would imagine here. But from a DFS perspective, I'll start on the Houston side. Kevin Durant, give me the top price guy. I mentioned I think that this is a pretty good matchup for him stylistically with the off-ball defense being a little bit worse for OKC. But I think early on he might take a little bit more of a backseat, just being an older guy. He's just getting older. He's played a ton of minutes last season, and he's probably going to be one of the guys that just doesn't really do a ton for most of the game from a DFS perspective, fantasy perspective, and then probably takes over when they need him in like the last 6 minutes of the game, because that's kind of what they brought him in for. They missed that closer that they needed last year, so I think that he's going to take over that role. But just a little bit too expensive in this matchup versus such a good defense in OKC that I don't really think I'm going to play much KD at 9.7K, even on a small slate. I do think that Sengun is going pretty overlooked here, and the reason being people are going to be paying down at center, going double center builds for sure, which kind of leaves Sengun as the odd man out at 9.2K. But he should be pretty good here. OKC, the main areas of weakness outside of their catch and shoot was their offensive rebounding, and he should have a size advantage or at least a strength advantage over Chet or Hardenstein, whichever one's going to be guarding him. But, I mean, he looked really good over the summer in some of those EuroLeague games. He was, putting up crazy numbers, and he looked really good in the preseason, putting up 6 assists per game. With OKC having such a good transition defense, I think there's going to be a lot more half-court sets for Houston, and that should just lead to more offense running through him. So I don't think that it's without the realm of possibilities that we see a triple-double right off the bat for Sengun here. We have a 70-minute sample last season with all the starters gone, with Fred VanVleet gone. He was first on the team in usage. It's pretty average number, 25%, but first in assists at 34% and second in rebounding, and averaged 1.37 fantasy points per minute. Sharing the floor with Steven Adams will hurt him a little bit from a rebounding rates perspective, but that does kind of come at the expense of him being less in foul trouble because he's probably going to be guarding Lou Dort, which Dort is just going to be hanging around on the perimeter. So I think that there's a pretty good opportunity here for Sengun at such low ownership to put up a pretty big score. Dropping down to Amen Thompson, I'm going to be underweight on him tonight. I just think that a lot of the things that he does really well are the things that OKC is elite at defending. They were top 5 in DVP versus point guards last season. I feel like I'm going to get flamed already for talking about DVP numbers on the first day, but it is important. But yeah, they're first in transition as well, first in rim defense. So it's just going to be really tough for him to put up actual points. And I mean, he could, he's another guy that does have triple-double upside, but he is going to be tasked with a pretty large responsibility guarding SGA on defense, which obviously leads into some foul trouble as well. But he was really good in the minutes without Fred VanVleet last year, averaged just over 40 DraftKings points per game, 1.26 fantasy points per minute. And if I had to choose somebody that could lead the slate in minutes tonight, he would probably be the top option, just because he's just so durable and just unlimited endurance, unlimited cardio. He could easily play 40 minutes here. I doubt he's going to do that on night one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Udoka did run his minutes up to try to make a statement on opening night against the defending champs. And then the Tari Eason, Jabari Smith grouping, I would say, or I guess I'll throw in Steven Adams in there as well, just because I think that those three are kind of all correlated, Sengun as well. But I think that if the minutes with Steven Adams do go poorly, it's probably Eason that's going to see his minutes propped up there. There's just such a wide range of outcomes, and him and Amen are kind of guys that I prefer to fire up against teams that have high turnover rate, high turnover percentage, and poor rim/transition defense. Definitely not the things that OKC does poorly. So stylistically, tougher matchup for Tari and Amen Thompson here, but does provide us with a little bit of leverage getting off of Steven Adams chalk to spend up on Tari Eason. I think that he would be the benefactor if that the big lineup does do poorly. I like Jabari a lot here tonight. He was really, really good in the preseason, and it makes a lot of sense considering that he spent the summer training with Kevin Durant. I think that's going to be really big for his career in general, just because he is – obviously nobody's as good as Kevin Durant, but like if you put them side by side, they're very similar. Very skinny, tall guy that does have a little bit of off-ball or off-the-dribble upside. So I think that it's going to be really good for Jabari career-wise to see him get a little bit better offensively, but he should be really good with no Fred VanVleet. He had a 21% usage rate. I think that's going to come down a little bit with Durant in the lineup, but did average 1.06 fantasy points per minute in those non-VanVleet minutes.
Just got paid too.
Yeah, just got paid. So a lot pointing up for Jabari Smith here. And then the last guy I'll talk about, I guess I got to touch on Steven Adams because he was really good as a starter last year. I think that he is a guy that does have a wide range of outcomes. He started 3 times last year, averaged 29 DK points per game. One of those games was against OKC, where he put up 29 DraftKings points, 6 offensive rebounds, which I mentioned was a pretty big spot to exploit for the Houston front court. And then Reed Shepherd, I don't think you should probably keep him in your player pool just in the off chance he does see a lot of minutes, which I don't think is going to happen just because he's going to get hunted on defense if he's out there. He's pretty undersized even for a point guard, but an elite fantasy point per minute producer. There will definitely be times this season where we can play him. I just don't think that tonight is going to be that night. Do you want me to jump over straight into the OKC side? Do you want to?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't really have too much more to add. Like, I'm going to be underweight Amen Thompson. It feels like just at his – I mean, he can't shoot right now at the end of the day. And now with KD there, with Sengun wanting the ball, you need a real score at 7-9. And it feels like when he does get that, it's the double-doubles, a lot of transition points, just not the matchup like you're saying against the Thunder. So I don't love him much. KD, definitely don't love him much at the price. And just like when you're comparing him to SGA, only 600 more. Steph's cheaper. I mean, Jimmy Butler looks a little mispriced. I even prefer Amin Thompson for a lot less. Like, I just can't get to that price, I don't think. I'm also wondering, like, you think Sengun will have a lot of, if this game is played in the half court, like they'll run the offense through him, which I think would be smart. If that's the case, I mean, KD seems really overpriced for his role, at least to start the year on this team. And Sengun's tough in the fact of just center's so good, but it'll keep his price down. Like, if there's one guy that can break the slate at, what do we have, 10% ownership right now? Sengun clearly looks like the guy, but there's so much opportunity cost at center that you're getting on more different roster construction stuff. You need him. Like, whatever you have him projected at, you probably want like 7-8 points more than there. So, like, I'm finding myself on the Rockets just playing more of these middling and cheaper guys. I always love Tari Eason. I feel like we talk about him all the time last year. Just a great point per minute guy. I like Jabari a lot. And then Steven Adams, I guess I've been going back and forth on. Like, if you really think like this double big lineup that the Thunder will exploit it. I mean, like Hartenstein, Chet, the Thunder are just so good at exploiting stuff like that. But man, Steven Adams was so good in the playoffs last year for a lot of games and had such a great role that if you're giving me 20-ish minutes, a little more of Steven Adams, I think that's a very solid value. So right now it's Jabari, Eason, Adams is my favorite ones on the Thunder or on the Rockets.
Yeah, agree with that. I got to give a shout out to my guy Shane. Appreciate
nice,
the $5. Yeah, good follow on Twitter. If any of you guys are interested in some betting content, got to give him a shout out.
Okay. Also, it's the first NBA show. We are giving out two things. One is from our man Jordan Newens. He's giving $40 away for a single entry that someone can play today. So I'm gonna when Rio gets back, I'm gonna let him talk about the Thunder side, and then I will think of something, or if you have any idea, Rio, to do that, because we are also giving out shout out to Go Collect, but it was a friend of his that wants to stay anonymous, is giving out a core package, 1 month, $99 value. You get SaberSim with it. You get all of our content. Again, no better time. NFL going on, college football, NBA, PGA, good contest this week. I actually looked. MLB World Series, MMA, pay-per-view season, NASCAR. I mean, look at that. Not often you get all these sports rolling at the same time. So that 5 days, $19, great time to check it out. But we will be giving one core package away. Yeah, trivia for the win. You know what? This is what I do on the MMA show, is I think of like a player in this game, or like maybe it's on the slate, and I say like whoever guesses it first, you only can say it once. I don't know, Rio. Do you have any good ideas on how to give away these two things?
Well, I know for sure that the $40 for the single entry is going to go to a member, so you have to be a member for that one. So one
member in that one, and then the other one can't be a member because we're giving a membership. So you guys let us know in chat, I guess, if you're or is it better to give it away in the Discord, do you think, for the 40 ticket?
Yeah, we'll do that in the Discord after the show, and then we could do the core package on the show.
Okay. And again, shout out. This is not from us over here at Chip and Nation. This is from Jordan Newens. He was on the Monday Takedown Breakdown. Awesome stuff there. And then Go Collect's friend. Again, he wanted to stay anonymous. He, she, whoever it is. Very nice of the both of you. So if you're when we do this, I'll think of which, like if it's going to be the full game, the whole slate. If you're not a member, then you can be guessing. If you are a member, you obviously can't win that. But after the show, we will give away the 40 in the Discord. All right, talk about the Thunder side. And I guess, like, if it is Caruso or if it is Kaysen or if it was Wiggins, like, does that change anything really for you depending on who starts? Like, they're all good. They're all going to be in play regardless. But would that change anything depending on who it is?
I don't think so. Just because these guys are all so priced closely together, I don't really think that anyone in particular is going to run away from it from like a minute standpoint. I think they're going to do their best to even it out. I would just say, like, defensively, it makes the most sense to get Caruso out there just because of his capability of defending 1 through 5, and they're probably going to want him on Durant to start. I just think that Kaysen might be a little bit undersized for the starting lineup Houston's going to be throwing out there, so Caruso to me makes the most sense. But I would say Kaysen is probably the second best option. I don't think that there's a chance that Wiggins starts personally, but that's just kind of me guessing. But yeah, starting off with SGA, historic season last year, won the regular season MVP, finals champion, finals MVP. So yeah, great season for OKC. I think that they are clearly the front runners to repeat this season. But he's set up for success, like kind of right off the bat versus Houston. They really struggled versus pick and roll last year. They really didn't make any moves to improve their on-ball defense. I think that is a plus for SGA. He was second in the league in pick and roll scoring last season. And it's going to be the area that the Thunder look to attack right away. On top of the matchup being a good one for him, obviously no J-Dub is going to help him a lot. He was Jalen Williams second on the team in usage last season. You don't really see a big usage bump for SGA with J-Dub off the court just because he's already has such a high usage rate. It's still at 35%, but he did see a pretty big bump in his assist and his fantasy points per minute, plus 4.6% assist rate increase, then plus 6.3 fantasy points per minute at an elite number, 1.75 fantasy points per minute. I think on a 2-game slate, it's going to be really tough to not play Shea. At just 10.3K, this is probably as cheap as we'll get him for a long time. I feel like most of the season last year he was up above 11K, and now we get him without Jalen Williams. I mean, he's probably the best spend-up option on the slate, but it's obviously not that hard to make an argument for Luka either. But I think I have them pretty close together tonight. Next up for the Thunder in usage will probably be Chet. He was just at 22% in the minutes without Jalen Williams on the court, but I think the main reason is because he and Jalen Williams were highly correlated last year. They spent a lot of their time together on the court with SGA off the court in that second quarter rotation. Shea usually plays the first 12 minutes of the game. Then they'll sub in Jalen Williams and Chet to start the second. We'll have to see what they do here with no Jalen Williams, but I think that with the matchup considered, just all the size on the Houston side, I don't really see this being a really great spot for Chet. So probably going to be underweight him. Because he's going to be a little bit more reliant on the jumper. There's just going to be too much interior presence for him to get some scoring around the basket, and he's going to be at a huge strength disadvantage if it is Steven Adams on him, or if he has to defend Steven Adams. I could see him really getting bullied like we saw kind of a lot last year. But that kind of gets me on to Hartenstein at 5.4K. Going to be a spot where they're really going to need his size. I think that on a normal opening night against any other team, he's probably playing like 22 to 24 minutes. I could see that getting up to like 25, 26 here, just being that they need a lot of size against the Houston front court. I would say he's probably the top value play in the slate. 5.4K, really good price for just the upside and kind of floor that he provides. I think calling him a triple-double threat is taken a little bit out of context, but he did have a pretty solid assist percentage, 15% with Jalen Williams off the court last season, averaged 36.3 DraftKings points per game in 8 games without Jalen Williams. So he's looking like a top play tonight. Definitely a core play for me. Give that out for free. But yeah, he looks really, really good here. And then it's kind of the 4 guys, Casey Wallace, Wiggins, Caruso, Dort, that are all kind of bunched together. I think I'm going to be max 2 of those 4 guys. I just don't really see a case where 3 of them get there. It's
Who
really
are those 4? You said Caruso, Wallace, Wiggins, Dort?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that all those guys are pretty highly correlated in a negative way. They're all going to, I don't think that there really will ever be a time where all 4 or 3 of them share the court together. So it's going to be really tough for multiple of them to get there even on a small slate. If Caruso's starting, I would say he's my favorite option. Looks really good at 4.6K, kind of a do-it-all guy. I don't really think that there's much from a matchup perspective that stands out, but he can provide a little bit of value in peripheral stats and, shot pretty well last season. Aaron Wiggins is the guy that has the most upside for sure. He had a couple 50-point outings, DraftKings point outings without Lou Dort or without Jalen Williams last season. A lot of that came at the very end when they were playing, Utah, and they didn't really have any other starters. But clearly a guy that can get hot and could get a little bit more minutes than he normally would on any given night. So he's probably got the most upside, but I would say the range is the widest for him. Kaysen is probably the guy that I like the least, but if he is starting 5%, I don't know if this number that I'm seeing 5% on a couple of sites, then I think that we have him. I don't know if you have the number in front of you, but on the Sabre, he's only projected for 7% ownership.
Who is that?
Kaysen Wallace.
We got him projected for 7.
Okay, so yeah, pretty close around a couple different places around the industry, but it's probably smart just to get overweight that number just on the off chance that he does see a little bit more minutes or gets hot. He does have a couple games in the upper 20s, which would be pretty good on such a small slate at 5.1K. But I would probably rank him as my least favorite of the 4 players. And then Lou Dort, safest from a minutes perspective for sure. And I would say there's a little bit more working in his favor as well. He doesn't add really any peripheral stats. We are asking for a hot shooting night from him, but I think you probably hear me mention this a lot this season. I did a lot last season, but he's much, much better at home than he is on the road. Shot 45% from 3 at home, 35% on the road, averaged 3 more real points. So,
and you think Steven Adams is guarding him?
I think it's Sengun on him.
Or that's what I meant. I mean, a big is guarding him. That's not going to be that's a lot of open looks in the corner for Lou Dort if it's Sengun.
Yeah, definitely. It's extremely frustrating playing him because he just launches those moonball 3-pointers, and sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. But definitely much, much better at home than he is on the road. So I would be a little bit more confident in him tonight as a value option. And then to round out the rotation, probably going to see a little bit of Jalen Williams get the backup center minutes. Don't think that you really should be playing him over Steven Adams if you're going down that low. Then AJ Mitchell should get the backup point guard minutes, which if they take it easy on SGA to start the season, that might be like 16 to 18 minutes. I don't think it's going to be like 20. I don't really know if they're going to overlap that much. Just don't really think that there's enough usage to go around for AJ Mitchell. I kind of like a couple value plays in that Golden State Lakers game a little bit better. And then if you told me that I knew that Ousmane Dieng was getting like 15 minutes, which I don't think that he is, I would probably be playing him above AJ and Jalen Williams, but he's probably not going to play more than a rotation if he does even see the court at all. So yeah, I like SGA and Hartenstein a ton. Okay with all those value guys that I mentioned, the Wallace, Wiggins, Caruso, Dort grouping, and then all those guys that I mentioned on Houston kind of rounds things out.
If there was like one team I had to pick to have the most exposure today, it would be the Thunder for me. And I think pretty clearly, and a lot of that has to do with you have the spend up in SGA if you want. You have Chet in the mid tier. That's very solid as well. But you just have so many 5K, 4K players that are going to see a good chunk of minutes. Like no Jalen Williams is huge for this team. They already Lou Dort. He can make plenty of threes. Caruso can fill it up in multiple ways. Wiggins has shown upside. Cason Wallace is a good basketball player. Like you got plenty of guys that are going to be on the court for meaningful time on a 2-game slate where value is relatively tough. Ownership will reflect that. But like if I have 5 OKC in my lineup, 5 might be a little stretching it out. But if I got a team with that in 150, like I'm not saying no to that today. Again, roster construction is the way to try and eliminate dupes or stuff or go more in one game. Like we talk about it in football. Maybe one game blows out today. The other game's really close. And then that's the game you need. So overstacking that roster construction is definitely a way to get different, more so than like leaving money and stuff. So I think the Thunder are really strong. Not much more to add. Like Hartenstein, SGA feel like 2 of the best plays on the slate. And I like the other value pieces as well. Any thoughts on who guards who? Like people are at like, who's guarding SGA? Who is a lot of who's Caruso guarding? Yeah, it's mainly that. Or I wonder if they put Chet on Jabari. Like just a lot of matchup questions people are wondering. Do you have a strong lean on who the individual matchups are?
Should be Amen on SGA is what I would imagine. For OKC, if Caruso is starting, I would imagine they put him on Durant. And then they said somebody has Sengun on Jabari.
Jabari and Chet. Is Jabari going to be on Chet?
Oh, yeah, I would imagine that's the matchup, and then Hartenstein and Adams against each other.
Okay, that makes sense. I got nothing really more to add. I think what we're going to do is, so I got a name in mind for one guy in this first 2 games of the slate, or this first game on the Rocket side, on the Thunder. It could be any of these guys that we have on the Stone. So I have one name in mind. If you're not a member, you have one answer. Go. If you get it wrong, if you put 2 in, you're banned. I'm not blocking you, but you just can't win the membership. But you have one guess. Whoever gets it right first gets the core package. Again, $99. Shout out to Go Collect. Shout out to his friend who did it. $99. You get SaberSim. You get all of our content for 1 month, and you get access to the Discord. No better deal. So I see him coming in. I'll let Rio talk about this Warriors and Lakers game, and I will be on the lookout in chat to see who won it. 2.5 point favorites are the Warriors, 226.5 total in this one. Injury news on this side, obviously no questionable tags really mean anything. We got Moses Moody, who will not be playing, and then we have LeBron, who's out for a little bit to start the year with a back injury. All I got to say, Gabe Vincent, I see that name there, and man, underdog, I think it was last week or something, started off 5 for 5 from deep, just absolutely was stroking it. That was pretty cool to see. So, yeah, I already tipped my hand. I prefer the Thunder Rockets game if choosing more than this game, but I mean, it's a 2-game slate. A lot of random stuff can happen. So, yeah, break down this one.
I think I might be more into this game. I could see this one being a lot closer and probably playing a little bit more up in pace. I think that these defenses are much, much worse than the guys in the first game, but the offenses are definitely better in that Houston OKC game. So you can't really go wrong with going heavy on either side here.
I'll just say quick, the totals are pretty much the same. 227.5 for the Rockets, 226.5 for this one. It was 225. It actually went up in the past 10 minutes, but they're just looking at it that way and spreads, only 4-point difference. Vegas wise, it looks very similar. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the Warriors going to be near full strength with Jimmy and Kuminga being listed probable here. Obviously, no Moses Moody. That is one kind of back end rotation guy that they'll be missing, but they will have Al Horford ready for this game. We did get note, I don't know, an hour ago that said Kuminga is probably going to be starting tonight. We can't really, rely on Steve Kerr's word because he's probably the biggest liar in the league. If we had a coach speak index for NBA, his reliability rating would definitely be 30%. But yeah, the Warriors defense was really, really good in the second half of the season last year with the addition of Jimmy Butler. Their offense was a lot better as well. It helped them a lot offensively just to take some usage and responsibility off of Steph Curry's plate and run some of the offense through Jimmy, through Draymond, through Pods a little bit. So I think that they'll be pretty decent. I think they'll be a pretty decent team in the West this season, like a little dark horse, maybe 5-6 seed. I could see that happening this season. And the Lakers, on the other hand, I think that they could be a little bit worse to start the year off. Obviously, no LeBron hurts them a ton, but they didn't really do a lot to improve their roster. A lot of that probably is because of LeBron. I mean, anytime you opt into a $50 million a year contract, it's going to be hard to sign guys. But they did get DeAndre Ayton, which I would say is a upgrade from what they had, what they were running out there at the front court last year. Marcus Smart, I think, is a good addition, although he's kind of on the tail end of his career. Other than that, I like Jake LaRavia too. I like that addition. We always liked him as a player, just as a SHIPIT Nation has kind of always been pretty high on him. But their guard defense, I think, could really, really struggle early on. Their best on-ball defender is probably going to be Gabe Vincent, and he's really not that great, kind of undersized to be guarding guys in the league, I would say. So I just think that the guards against Lakers are going to be something we're going to have to look to attack pretty early and often, which kind of leads me right into Steph Curry. 9.3K, I think, is a really, really good price tag for Steph. Coming into the season fully healthy, he's just been lights out against the Lakers dating back to last season. Really only had one bad game versus them where he was below 40 DraftKings points. Otherwise was above 50 in 3 out of 4 games, averaged 31 points, 3 rebounds, 6.3 assists per game, 47.3 DraftKings points. Like I said, top 50 DraftKings points in 3 out of those 4 games. And then we had a 120-minute sample last season where him and Jimmy played together on the court. I believe that's the regular season. And in those minutes, Steph did see a plus 5.6% usage rate increase, averaged 1.53 fantasy points per minute. So yeah, I think that there's a lot going right for Steph here. I think that he's going to be an elite spend-up option tonight on a slate where he has to compete with Luka and Shea for top score at the point guard position. But that's definitely going to leave him, I would say, more underowned than he should be. I mean, I would probably be playing Steph on a 6-game main slate if we had more options at this price and in this matchup. So I really, really like Steph here. A little bit lower on Jimmy. I get that the price tag is really good, AK, but I could see him being eased into the season to start. Maybe low 30s is maybe even 30 minutes is what they kind of have planned for him to start the season. Just, not coming into the season at full strength. And I would say that if there were any sort of strengths defensively for the Lakers, it would be at the wing. They got a pretty decent size and defenders in Rui Hachimura and Jake LaRavia now. And we have seen Jimmy kind of take a backseat to Steph at times. We've also seen him take over at times, but I think that this is going to be more of a Steph night than a Jimmy night. So I'll be a little bit higher on Steph than Jimmy in this spot here. Pods was great in the postseason. He looks pretty expensive right now at 6.6K, and he might even be fourth in the pecking order in terms of usage, which makes him a little bit tougher of a sell. But like I said, the guards against the Lakers, I think, is going to be a spot to exploit early on. So I would say, single digit owned Pods probably looks pretty good here. I would just kind of maybe even manually set a min max exposure to get overweight on him, because it's going to be tough at the projection that we have him at. But I do think that there is some upside. He was playing really, really well towards the end of last season alongside Jimmy and Steph, averaged just over 1 fantasy points per minute, but did have a couple games where he did touch 40 DraftKings points. So there's definitely some upside. I don't think that I'll have like 25 or 30% of him, but 15 sounds like a good number. And then, since we got word that Kuminga is going to be starting alongside Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, it makes it a little tougher now, I would say, just to make the case for Kuminga, just because that has really been they really didn't want to run those guys all three together on the court last season, just because you really lose a lot of floor spacing capability, especially taking away Al Horford, who is, a decent shot maker, I would say, and then switching him out for Kuminga, who needs floor spacing to be productive on the court, just because he's not going to take a ton of threes. He's more so looking to get downhill and get to the basket. He's just a little bit too expensive right now, I would say, at 5.9K, even being listed as a starter. And I would probably want to be max 2 of Kuminga, Draymond, and Al Horford tonight. I just don't really see those three all getting there at these price tags. I mean, they're only, 200 apart. Well, he's 400 away from Al Horford, but him and Draymond only 200 apart. Draymond and Al Horford only 200 apart. So I think it's going to be a little bit tougher to see more than 2 of those guys get there. I do prefer Draymond in a pretty big way to the trio, especially with Al Horford shifting to the bench role now. They're not going to be playing him more than 20 minutes a night. It's just going to be really tough for him to reach value at this price tag. They're going to be mixing in guys like Quentin Post and potentially even Trace Jackson-Davis if things go poorly. So, yeah, I think that it's kind of condensed on the Warriors side between Steph, a little bit less so Jimmy, Pods, and then Draymond, I would say, are the options I'm really looking towards. Gary Payton has been kind of talked about a little bit, 3.2K. I'm never really too excited about playing him, even on a 2-game slate, just a really low usage guy and probably not really playing a ton of minutes. We're going to need to kind of bank on him getting like 4 stocks and knocking down 2, 3 3-pointers when he just doesn't. He probably is not taking more than 3 shots on any given night. So it won't be somebody that's heavily featured in my portfolio tonight. They have talked about this Will Richard guy getting some minutes. I don't know if there's enough juice to play there even on a 2-game slate. I'm probably going to need some more injuries in order to get to him later in the season, but somebody to keep an eye on for sure. And then switching over to the Lakers side, Luka at 11K is a really, really good price tag with no LeBron. I mean, he's going to be 12K, I would say, before a month into the season for sure. He's looking really good physically, lost a lot of weight, looked really good in the Euro League, looked pretty good in the preseason, had some, elite usage numbers. So he should be able to pick up some big minutes right off the bat. I would imagine he's, looking pretty good endurance-wise. There was only 5 games that Luka played for the Lakers last year without LeBron, but he was obviously great in those games, averaged 63.3 DraftKings points per game, 30.4 points, 10.2 rebounds, 8.8 assists per game. And then in the non-LeBron minutes, Luka was at a 45% usage rate, 44% assists, 15% rebounding rate, averaged 1.87 fantasy points per minute, which is on par with like a Jokic and a Wemby type of fantasy point per minute production. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of value to get up to Luka tonight. I think that you play him a lot early and often, like play him pretty much every single night of the season until LeBron comes back is what I would recommend. And then similar to Luka, but on a lesser scale, Reeves is going to see an increased role early on. Clearly was second on the team in usage at a modest 22%, but did have a 24% assist rate, 8% rebounding rate, averaged 1.18 fantasy points per minute, and 53 DraftKings points without LeBron last season. That was in total, but the number did shrink a little bit when you added Luka into those games, averaged 47.3 DraftKings points per game without LeBron and with Luka. It's still an elite number for somebody at 7.3K. Those two are clearly the best options for the Lakers and probably 2 of the better overall points per dollar plays on the entire slate. And then they'll get DeAndre Ayton into the starting lineup, 6.3K. now with no Al Horford, I think it's a little bit better for Ayton. There's going to be a lot less floor spacing, so he can kind of hang around the rim a little bit more. With Kuminga out there and Draymond probably going to be the guy that he's defending the most. I think that he's going to be fine leaving Draymond open a little bit. I mean, I don't know if there's really a ton to say about Ayton. We kind of know what he is at this point of his career. 1.1 fantasy points per minute is pretty solid for somebody at 6.3K. That's probably going to be playing 31, 32 minutes. So, I don't really have a ton negative to say about him. I think he's fine. There are some downside to him getting cut just if he's poor on defense and doesn't really show effort. JJ, being a former player, I think has strong opinions about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't show effort on a couple plays and gets a quick hook for guys like Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia. Maybe that you can play smaller against the Warriors. So that is a possibility. But all in all, I would say that he's a fine option. Okay, but not great. Brewery is going to have to step up on offense. I don't really like him at 5.6K, but he did have some pretty big games without LeBron last season. But a much lower fantasy point per minute guy with Luka and even without LeBron on the court. And he does have a pretty tough task on defense, going to be guarding Jimmy, which does provide some foul risk. So not super high on him. I would say that Marcus Smart and Gabe Vincent are a pretty decently big talking point here because I think that those two kind of will be competing for that point guard, shooting guard. I don't even know what you consider them. I mean, they have like 3 guards on the court, but whatever roster spot you consider Gabe to take over in the starting lineup is kind of Marcus Smart's going to be competing for that. I think that Smart kind of is a better option here. I don't really know where he's at health-wise. He's obviously getting older with a ton of injuries, a ton of mileage on him. But he's just a better defender. I think probably more well-equipped to chase around Steph and even play on ball on some other guys. And he's not a terrible shooter, does provide more peripheral stats. Obviously a guy that can get, 2 or 3 steals in a block or so and kind of hit value pretty quickly. But I would say that if I had to give minutes to those two guys, it's probably going to be like a 60-40 split in favor of Gabe, which would make him a little bit better at 3.5K. And then you take into account how hot he was coming into the season, with some of those crazy preseason performances. I would probably lean Gabe, but Smart is $800 more expensive, and the salary I think we're going to need it tonight. So he probably is the higher leverage spot. If I knew that he was going to be like half the ownership as Gabe, which I don't know is going to be the case, I would probably choose Smart. But I think that just minutes wise, you kind of have to lean Gabe here. Vanderbilt should get the backup center minutes. Would not play him with Ayton, I don't think. I think that if the minutes come up for him, it's going to be at the expense of Ayton, which would make them very highly negatively correlated. But he's a little – I'd probably prefer him to be like 3.5K like Gabe is coming off the bench. But Jake LaRavia is the last guy I'll mention. I think that he's probably my favorite value play on the Lakers side. I don't want this to get taken out of context, but LaRavia kind of does some of the things that LeBron does, like in terms of being, big floor stretcher and I would say a plus passer for his position. Obviously, he's nowhere near LeBron, probably not even 10% of LeBron, but he can do some of those same things. And he's a pretty decent defender. You kind of have the potential foul risk for Rui to fall back on as well. LaRavia is a career .83 fantasy point per minute producer, so pretty solid for somebody at that price. I do like Jake LaRavia a good bit.
I like LaRavia quite a bit too. I prefer Lakers side definitely more than Warriors side. Like my 2 favorites, like teams, if I had to get ownership to, is the Thunder and the Lakers for sure. Man, I always am a Rui guy. The thing is, he just like on this 2-game slate, I'm seeing like 13%. What can his minutes get up to? Can he get me 28 minutes today?
Oh, I think that's like on the low end. I would say 32 is probably where he's at on a normal night, but I think like even 34, 35 is possible.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best plays. 5,600. You look at all these OKC guys. Case and Wallace will be higher owned. Obviously, Hartenstein, completely different positions. Caruso will be higher owned. Aaron Wiggins will be higher owned. Jabari Smith's going to be higher owned, right by Draymond. Yeah, that's all I had to hear. I'm definitely in on Draymond. I like your LaRavia stuff. Again, I like the Lakers side a lot more. Someone asked if you can, like, how much your portfolio will have SGA and Luka. Like, I kind of built my just like a 150 to start just to look at the slate. I'll definitely rebuild, but it's really easy to get both of them. There's plenty of value on this slate. If those guys both get you 63 plus or whatever, you probably want that. So I'm not sure you built your 150. Like, I don't know if you can answer this question, but it's really easy to do so.
Yeah, I definitely haven't built yet. There's a couple more things I got to cross off before building, but I would probably guess right now I would have more Luka and Steph builds than Luka and SGA.
Okay.
But that's just kind of a guesstimation right now because I don't know.
So yeah, back to in the beginning, Coach Sav, I don't even look at the stack exposure thing on here. It's irrelevant. Like if you're using SaberSim, I couldn't tell you anything, to be honest. It's not hockey, it's not baseball. I don't look at it one bit. I trust SaberSim. Like when you click on their individual players, you can see the positive or negative correlation with other guys on their team, and it's usually pretty minuscule. But like all of that's taken into consideration when building teams. So I do not look at that one bit. Was there anything else? We did get a winner. I'll mention that in a sec. Was there anything else in terms of, I mean, the Vincent Smart stuff? Are you making a rule there? Or because they're cheap enough that if they both get you like 5x, that can work?
I want to look back at some of the minutes and see how much they overlapped in the preseason. I'm just kind of guessing that I don't think that they'll be playing much alongside of each other. So I might make a rule, but I also just don't think that I'm going to get a lot of lineups that feature both of them because I'm going to be favoring one over the other for minutes and fantasy points.
That makes sense. Man, I really don't like this Warriors stuff much at all. They're my least favorite. Lakers is so super strong. I think Ayton's probably one of the best center plays. Luka, there's no words that need to be said. I mean, Reeves is a hooper. JJ Redick was talking he's the best player on the court. A lot of their stuff in the offseason. The price is very fair at $7,300. No LeBron, the ball will be in his hand more. You got to feel like they're going to have at least one of Reeves and Luka on the field, or on the field, man. I'm talking a lot of NFL. On the court for every single minute, right? They have to stagger when they sit out. You would think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, any time that either is not on the court, their usage is going to be through the roof. I like Laravia call. I definitely like the Laravia call, and I like Rui quite a bit. Not really much to add on the Warriors stuff.
If you go back like 12 minutes, I don't know how long ago it was, but I gave all the reasons.
I don't mess with correlation, no. I trust SaberSim and whatever they got going in the background, whatever they've studied, I don't mess with it personally. So I wanted the winner, the guy it's Ricky Pearsall. So the guy that I had was Reed Shepard. He was the first one to say Reed. Just beat Mr. Mike's daddy. Just beat Kit Cloud. But Reed Shepard was the guy. Ricky Pearsall was the first one. He did say down below though that he had to go eat dinner, got to pause for dinner thing. So I hope you're going to come back, Ricky, and see this because email info@shipitnation.com. I'll type it out quick. And you did get a $99 value, the core package, our all access content, access to the Discord. Again, no better time. Shout out to Go Collect's friend who wanted to stay anonymous. That was very, very nice of you. All of these sports, NFL, college football, NBA, PGA, MLB, MMA, NASCAR, and NHL are all going on right now. Heck, League of Legends might be going on, or tennis. And we do have spaces in there in the Discord that people talk about it. Awesome stuff. Ricky Pearsall. That's very funny, but email info@shipitnation. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You're in here. You did win. Reed Shepard, great guess. So email info@shipitnation.com. We will get you all squared away and in the Discord. For any members out there, again, Jordan's giving away a $40 single entry ticket tonight. Very nice of him. Right after the show, we're going to go in the Discord. We're going to do the same thing for the Warriors-Lakers game. I'm going to pick a name, or Rio will pick a name, and whoever gets it first, Jordan will Venmo, PayPal. I don't know exactly what he said. $40 to you. Very nice of you guys. What is Vincent's ownership? So this is the nice thing about the Stone. We can go and look on DraftKings. We have him at 12%. On FanDuel, we have him at 7%. One thing I did want to mention, FanDuel, the DraftKings, pods, that price tag, 5.7 on FanDuel, 6.6 on DK, will be over a double owned on FanDuel than he will on DK. So that was one big price difference that I noticed there. Any final thoughts, Rio? Anything you want to say before we get on out of here? Actually, one thing before I throw it to you. NBA shows. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. right now. Non-NFL days, obviously Monday and Thursday, it's still NFL season over here. Slate plan will be up, cores will be up, cash, stone, projections, like all the content you need. But we will not have shows on Monday and Thursday. It'll be Tuesday, me and Rio. Wednesday, our man Matt and Rio. Friday, our man Ham and Rio doing the shows there. And a quick hit on Saturday as well. But projections, ownership, all written content, 7 days a week, like we have all the sports. That is what you can be prepared for on the lookout for this NBA season. When NFL ends, we will be back Monday through Friday doing live shows. Any final thoughts, anything, Rio, before we get on out of here?
No, I did want to touch on something real quick. It's the Vincent and Smart stuff. I guess I was probably a little bit higher thinking that Vincent would get more ownership than Smart just because I realized that Gabe only has point guard eligibility and Smart has shooting guard eligibility. So that's probably going to lean to more people playing him. So I would imagine that's probably going to be the case tonight. I don't think no bold calls right now. I'll probably be doing a lot of those with Ham because he loves the triple double calls or the 8+3 calls. So we'll do something like that later on. But yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in. Really good, show out for the first day of NBA. 400+ people in here right now. So appreciate all you guys tuning in. And I guess one more scheduling note for anybody that's a member and that has been tuning into the Sabre series. I talked about it on that show last Thursday, but that show will be switching to Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, pretty much every day moving forward, unless there's some sort of scheduling conflict. Maybe we'll do it on Saturdays, but Thursday is the day that we're going to be switching that one.
Cool. So 4 Eastern, that you get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Sabre series, Friday back to hoops, but we will be doing the NBA show 4 Eastern all of those days. Again, we'd love to have you. Great. We appreciate everyone hanging out. Code SHIP19, $5 or 5 days for $19. You absolutely cannot beat that. With all these sports going on, absolutely big prizes. We would love to have you get in the Discord if you do join. And if not, hey, like button helps us out on the way as well. For Rio, I'm Titletown. Good luck opening day NBA. Peace.